The FRT-5 is basically the Floyd Rose design as we know it today, and I'm going to cover the Fernandes-Schaller transition, which gets extremely confusing because there is a lot of different models, I guess, that came out, and there's a lot of mislabels, okay? Stay tuned, I'm going to make it really simple for you to understand. Okay, this is considered the very first FRT-5 ever made. It was made in the Fernandes factory, probably in early 1983, but I don't know. This is not in any of the catalogs. One way to tell that about this one, it's got the embossed Floyd Rose logo right there. It's basically an early Floyd Rose FRT-4 with the whale tail that was bent back, right? This is a direct result of Eddie Van Halen saying, look, I don't like where the fine tuners are on the FRT-4, let's move them back a little bit, and this is the direct result. This is the very first one, made in the Fernandes factory, not the Schaller factory. Some things that keep it's similar to other Fernandes stuff. It's got the humpback saddles, it's got the steel block, it's got steel tuners. The Fernandes ones, which we could tell from Fernandes from the later German ones, is it's got 2 slots for the intonation screws. Like I said, I couldn't find this at all in the Fernandes catalogs, though AXN claims that it was in some of the ads, but I couldn't find any of that. I have no idea how long these were produced or how many were made. Like I said, it's like forgotten from the history books, and not many people know these kinds of facts, and Floyd Rose doesn't talk a lot about this either, as I mentioned in a lot of my videos. But my guess is very few of these ones are made because obviously Schaller is taking control of production very soon because now Floyd Rose is with Kramer, and there's a Kramer deal going on, and my guess is the reason why they kind of moved to Schaller. Kramer wanted to go with Schaller, not Fernandes. Maybe because Fernandes made their own guitars and Kramer didn't like that, but I have no idea. The next FRT-5 we're going to talk about is called the Whale Tail FRT-5, and is probably the most popular and most sought after of all Floyd Roses because this is what Eddie Van Halen played on his 5150 Kramer. These were the only FRT-5s manufactured in the USA, and an interesting fact is they were made by American Precision Metal Works in California, USA, which is better known as Kahler. Yes, this Kahler right here, which is basically Floyd Rose's nemesis when it comes into this era. There are only 200 to 300 of these made, and they're mainly on Kramer Pacer guitars in early 1983 with the beak headstock. Okay, so I guess they rushed this production because I guess the German factory wasn't quite ready to start production, so these are really rare and really sought after. These are made of bent steel, had stainless steel T-blocks, and you can see one thing you can really separate this right away is the Floyd Rose logo is a lot closer to the edge than the modern ones. The modern ones are a little more centered. What's also interesting to me is that the saddles, it's got the oval style design on the saddles with a string passed through, much like the FRT-4 did. I talked about the T-blocks in my last videos, but if you did not catch that, they're basically just like the regular blocks where you pinch the strings together to lock them, but you can basically put them upside down when it's unscrewed and they won't fall out because of the T-block design. These ones on this trim are made out of stainless steel, and to me they should have kept this design. I really like these. Another thing peculiar about this version of the Whale Tail is that it did not have spring tensioners going against back of the bolts behind there. So that's specific to this model only. As you can see here, there are 3 slots to intonate the saddles. And this was common on the FRT-5s for this USA version and the German style ones, but the Fernandes FRT-5s and 7s only had 2. So that's one way to tell a difference. On the earlier Fernandes ones, sometimes I've actually seen 3, but it's kind of a mix-up in the earlier Fernandes stuff. Here you can get a closer look on the T-block saddles and the saddles. Notice how, like I said, the saddle's got that oval kind of look with the string passes through, similar to the FRT-4, and also the arm bar similar to the Fernandes. It's got the locking and the washers, which I kind of like that style as well. Here are some pictures of Eddie Van Halen and his 5150 Kramer. So he had it on here for a while. I'm not sure if he had it on the Frankenstrat. Some Eddie Van Halen guys, you'll have to chime in here, because I'm not quite sure. But so it's been really popular because a lot of people try to make replicants of the 5150s, so they need that bridge, but there's only 200 to 300 made. Like I said, they usually came on Kramer Pacers, but most of the people snagged, if they bought the Pacer, they snagged it off and sold separately. And a lot of times they've been going, right around the $2,000 range. Something that's rather interesting, so after Gary Kahler basically was making this Whale Tail version, which everyone wants, he started making his own licensed version of the Floyd Rose. A popular one being the Kaler Steeler. You can find these on some carving guitars and other random guitars, but a lot of people claim this to be one of the best licensed Floyd Roses. And actually, Floyd Rose sued Gary Kaler. I think it was this particular bridge, this Steeler bridge, and he won in that lawsuit. Okay, now this is the very first German production Floyd Rose ever. Okay, and you can tell, the easy way to tell us is that it had the Made in West Germany sticker on it. Something that's interesting about these ones, now this is basically captures the essence of what you see in every modern Floyd Rose. And you know, like the way I tell the Kaler USA version one, that's a little different. It had a lot of variations that you don't see in a modern one. Same with the Fernandes one, but this one is pretty common to what you see. It's got the Made in West Germany sticker on it. Something unique about this one is that it had stainless steel saddles. And I think the block was made out of brass, and the arm changed a little bit. And also, the base plate was thicker than what you see in the modern versions. Here you can see the block on it. It's actually a brass block that's chrome plated, so that's pretty interesting. These didn't have any of the patent number stamped onto it. You don't see that until 1985. And my guess is that these came mainly on the early 1983 Kramers, could be Pacers and anything in that era. And like I said, the first thing you can tell is by looking at the sticker, it said Made in West Germany, which it's possible that those have worn off over time. And here you can see the Floyd Rose signature on here. This is pretty typical to all the modern Floyds. Notice how it's centerized and not towards the edge like the USA Kaler version. Floyd Rose also got rid of the T-block design that's never ever seen again on any Floyd Rose. And the spring tensioners, as you can see here, are kept on, and you see that on all modern Floyds, even today. The next version we're going to talk about is, I'm going to call it the 1984 version. And this is the version, really, and all modern Floyds is almost unchanged in a way. These are the ones that have the Made in Germany stamped on the bottom of the base plate, and this is something they still do in 2019, 2020 on all the Floyd Rose originals. Now, one way you can tell that it's a 1984 Floyd Rose is that there's no patent number stamped on the sustain block right here. So that's one way. That didn't happen until 1985. So if you have a Made in Germany stamped on it, and you got this base plate and there's no patent number stamp, that's a 1984. I think the base plate on these are a little thicker compared to the modern Floyds, and also a difference from this one and the previous German-made Schaller Floyd is that these blocks on this that hold the string in, they're not made of stainless steel. I think they're just made out of regular steel. Floyd changed the armbar design a few times over the years, if you guys all know, but I'm going to cover that stuff post 1984-85 Schaller Floyd Roses in another video, and everything Floyd Roses. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, what the hell happened with Fernandes? So some of the stuff gets a little hazy because Fernandes technically sold the FRT-5s, the ones that were made by Schaller in 1984, and they also made what they called an FRT-7, which was their own version of Floyd Rose, and they sold it slightly cheaper to undercut the Schaller-made Floyd Roses, and that was only made 1 year. Okay, so it gets a little confusing because they mislabel a few things in their catalogs. This is an FRT-5, but this, I've determined, is a Schaller-made FRT-5, not a Fernandes one. You can tell because of the nut, and I've read the Fernandes Osaka blog, and the guy also mentions this. Okay, basically, watch my FRT-7 video too, because that's kind of an offshoot. I'm going to stick with the FRT-5s because they keep that designation. They kind of, like the FRT-4, kind of do their own thing and redesign it and all over back and forth. After selling the Schaller-made FRT-5s and selling their own, making their own Floyd Rose that actually said Floyd Rose on it, and they called it FRT-7, and they actually sold it less than the German-made ones so they can undercut the Floyd Rose. In 1985, they had to give that all up, and they had to do a license agreement with Floyd Rose because, of course, he's with Kramer, and Schaller's making everything now. They called these the Head Crasher series, which is basically, it's their own version. They took the Floyd Rose, what they called FRT-7. Again, watch the FRT-7 video. And it's identical in every way, except they call it the Head Crasher. And one interesting thing about this is they still kept the humpback locking nuts, whereas Schaller, of course, never did the humpback locking nuts. So this is in the late 1985. As you can see, they already basically relabeled it the Head Crasher FRT-5. This is also from the same late 1985 catalog, and one improvement that they made to this, that you could actually adjust the string height, which is totally awesome. And I'm going to talk about, you're going to notice if you watch these videos, and also FRT, that Fernandes is actually extremely innovative in how they did these licensed versions. You don't see the FRT-5 designation again until the 1987 catalog, probably because maybe they knew people are a little confused with the FRT-5s and 7 and the differences between them. Basically, they rebranded. These are the Head Crasher FRT-4, 5, and 7. They're all the same thing, basically, except the FRT-5, you could adjust the string height on them. You could tell there's holes right there on the saddle. The FRT-7 is just like the FRT-5, except you could actually lock the bridge, which I talk about that later on in the FRT-7 video. Now in 1988, they redesigned it again, and instead of calling it a totally different bridge, they still kept the FRT-4, 5, and 7 designations to it. Basically, they're just like the Head Crasher versions. These just say FRT on the base plate. And these ones, if you've seen my FRT-4 video, I talk about these a little bit in there. The fine tuners are basically on the screws to tighten the block, okay, which is kind of interesting. And to me, this is like the ultimate design that probably Eddie Van Halen wanted, but it's a little too late, and this is in 1988, and this is what it is right now. The 1988 version of the FRT-5 was kept all the way until 1994, where it's basically, they redesigned it again and called it the FRT-5 Pro, which is basically a low-profile version, I believe, and similar to the Floyd Rose Pro. The FRT-5 Pro basically kept the same design and lasted until 1997, and from there, ironically, Fernandes started using shallower Floyd Roses and also Wilkinsons, and also they somewhat redesigned their own version. You can see these on kind of modern Fernandes guitars, but on the base plate it just says in large bold letterings Fernandes, and they called that the FRT-10 and FRT-11, which is similar to the Gatto, actually, the modern Gatto. Okay guys, my head's about to explode right now, and I didn't even cover all the details I wanted to, but I want to keep these relatively short. I'm going to cover the 1985 post Floyd Rose and some other videos. There's a lot to go on there, but hopefully you guys got a better understanding of the process and the history. I hope you enjoyed it, because a lot of this stuff, only like a lot of Eddie Van Halen fanatics really knew, and I kind of wanted to get this a broader base. Stay tuned for more stuff. Check out the FRT 6, 7, and 8 videos. It's interesting as well.